Hi team, greetings to you from the sunny banks of Lake Geneva. I just happened to be here for a 1-month break with the family, just relaxing. It's school holidays and we're taking this opportunity just to take some downtime, to take some time to reflect. It's been a busy few months that got us, led us to where we are right now, and it is just an ideal opportunity for me specifically to rest, to relax and to recharge. And it's an honor to be speaking to you all today from this really beautiful location. I'm always in awe at the splendor and the beauty of God's creation, and so in the back of me you can see some boats and you know, the lake, and if you look further back you probably may be able to see Mont Blanc. Mont Blanc is on the other side, it's in France, but it's even in summer Mont Blanc, the White Mountain, is always snow covered regardless of what the weather is. Elsewhere in the rest of the country is always snow covered, hence I guess the name Mont Blanc. But it's an honor for me to be here with you today and just going over, continuing really our session of the 15 invaluable laws of growth. I have the honor and the privilege of being with you today to share the fourth law. Basically the fourth law of the 15 laws of growth is the law of reflection. And simply put, the law of reflection says that learning to pause allows growth to catch up with you. So learning to pause, to wait, allows growth to catch up with you. And I just want to give a brief recap of, this is week 4, give you a brief recap of what's gone on before. So in week 1 we had Elaine and Tony, and they covered the first law of growth, which is the law of intentionality. And simply put, the law of intentionality states that growth doesn't just happen. In other words, growth doesn't happen by accident. If you want to grow, you've got to be intentional about that. And I know that Elaine and Tony did a great job of that, and you had a session with them. And the second week we had Mancha. Mancha covered the law 2, which was the law of awareness. And the law of awareness says you must know yourself to grow yourself. In other words, you've got to know yourself. You've got to understand who you are. You've got to understand what your motivations are. You've got to understand what it is that's unique about you before you can actually begin to grow yourself. So again, that was week 2. Week 3 we had Julius and Fiona. You were lucky there because you had both a teaching of the law, and you also had the opportunity to have a cooking lesson. I was looking at the back and just watching how ably Fiona was cooking, cutting, cooking, stirring, adding spices, as well as teaching at the same time. Julius just struggled pressing the buttons on the computer. I guess that's the extent of man's multitasking. But Fiona showed us a lesson in multitasking. She showed us her skills both as a chef and also as a very talented and gifted speaker, trainer and coach. So they covered the law of the mirror, and the law of the mirror simply put says you must see value in yourself to add value to yourself. So you must see value in yourself to add value to yourself. And really the crux of that law is that it's about the power of positive self-esteem. How without positive self-esteem, without a positive belief in who you are and the value that you have, it's hard for anybody to grow themselves. And so John Maxwell goes on to say that self-esteem is the single most significant key to a person's behavior. In other words, what you think about yourself, how you think about yourself will have a reflection on how you behave, and how you behave will have a reflection on your results. So, key point, the law of the mirror. So today, as I said, we're going to be covering the law of reflection. Learning to pause allows growth to catch up with you. And the way today's lesson is going to be structured is really we're going to focus on learning it, and then living it, the practical applications, how you live it, what that means in our lives, and leading it. In other words, what we learn in terms of these 15 laws that we're going to go through over the next few weeks, it's not just about learning the laws, it's about living the laws, and it's also about leading the laws. In other words, having a positive impact on those around us through the way that we live our lives as a result of having learned, not just learned, but applied the laws that we're learning. So, without further ado, on the learning it side, we're going to say learning to say time out. This is something that a lot of people that are motivated to grow, a lot of people that are motivated for results don't do very well. We don't stop to pause. If you speak to most successful people, they're constantly on a roller coaster. They're constantly moving at a rapid rate of knots. They constantly I was speaking to a very, very dear friend of mine today, and I won't mention any names, but I know that she'll be listening to this and she'll smile when I say this. And basically this whole thing about we have this massive to-do list as people that are committed to results. We have a massive to-do list. We have lots of learning to do. We have lots of things to apply, but what we don't do is we don't take time out. We just don't stop. We don't pause to allow growth to catch up with us. And we'll expand a bit more on that. So the power of pausing. A, reflection turns experience into insight. So there's a whole lot of things that we do, that we learn. We read books, we attend seminars, and all those kind of things. And all we do is we end up living there with a whole multitude and mountains of notes and our heads filled with information. But that's all it becomes. That's all it remains. It just remains information in our heads. When we pause, when we reflect, we're able to turn that experience of either a book that we've read or a course that we've taken, we're able to turn that into insight. So in other words, that we begin to, that every experience that we have can become a learning experience. And it's only a learning experience when you take time to learn from that experience. If you don't learn from experience, it's just an experience. And I know that out there people say that experience is the best teacher, but it isn't. Experience is not the best teacher. John Maxwell says that evaluated experience is the best teacher. In other words, you can learn nothing from an experience unless you evaluate what that learning is from that particular experience. So everyone needs a time and a place to pause. That's one of the reasons that I'm shooting this video from here. I'm actually sitting on the park bench, and I said at the back behind me there's the Lake Geneva. This is the place that I come to every morning, and I've been here for 3 weeks now, well, just almost 4 weeks. Every morning I take a walk down here. It's about 5 minutes, 10 minutes away from where I live. I take a walk down here, and I sit on this bench and I reflect. I do 3 things. I pray, I read, I praise, and I reflect. What do I reflect on? I reflect on what I've been learning. I reflect on what I'm learning through what I'm reading. I reflect on what I'm learning through what I'm experiencing. I reflect on what I'm experiencing and what that means to me, and how can I take those experiences further. Now, I've chosen this place because it's a beautiful place. It's a place that connects me with nature. It's a place that I feel personally connects me with God. It's a place, and you can do that. It can be any place, but the whole idea of having a particular place where you take time out to pause is that it becomes intentional. So I wake up in the morning, before I have breakfast, I walk out here. So this has become my place for pausing. This has become my place for reflection. This has become my place for thinking. So in my mind, this place has become synonymous with pausing. Not just so much hustle and bustle of all the things that I need to do. But this is where I just stop, I pause. So I'm intentional about the time that I do it. And I'm intentional about the place that I do it. Now, I wasn't always like this. I didn't always do it this way. And sometimes I find myself running and not finding that time to pause. So I'm not speaking to you as somebody who's attained it, who's reached everything. I'm speaking to you as somebody who's on the same journey that you're on, who's struggling with the same things that you struggle with. But what I'm saying is that from my experience, I've discovered that setting out a place, a dedicated place and a dedicated time to pause, is very useful, is very helpful. So pausing will take an intentional planned time. And reflection allows us to think about what it is that we're learning, and not just to learn, but to actually think, why am I learning this, and what am I learning from that? So pausing with intention expands and enriches our thinking. So most times when we get to the end of a task, we say, oh gosh, I'm so glad that is finished. I'm so glad that that is behind me. And quite easily, when we finished in Uganda in July, we could have said, oh God, we're so glad that the training is finished. It's been intense. But what did we do? We encouraged each other to go back and to pause and to reflect and to expand on what we learned. Because as much as we were teaching, as much as we were giving out, we were also learning from the experience, from being there, from meeting all of you. So what I'm saying is that, what can we learn from that? If we just rush back into our regular jobs and started doing exactly what it was we were doing before we left, we'd never have learned from that. So for leaders, a moment of thought is worth more than an hour of talk or an hour of action. Most of the brightest leaders and the best leaders out there, their most productive time is the time that they spend thinking. So you spend more time thinking than you actually spend time doing if you want to be effective. I'm not saying we don't do, we do, but the quality of our doing is determined by the quality of our thinking. So when you take time to pause, I want to cover what I call the 4 eyes. Now, 4 eyes, I'm not talking about those eyes, I'm talking about eyes as in the letter I. The 4 eyes, this is what taking time to pause does to you. So the first eye is investigation. Investigation, the first eye. Pausing is about finding meaning in each experience. If you don't pause, if you don't investigate and say, okay, that experience that I just had, what is the meaning of that? What is the learning of that? Rather than just say, I'm so glad that that experience is over, but what do I learn from that? See, we learn more from the things that we do wrong than we do from the things that we do right. So, I always say this, is let failure be your friend. So even an experience where things didn't go the way you wanted them to go, even an experience that in your eyes you see as a failure, it's only a failure if you don't learn from it. So unless you pause and investigate, you won't actually find the meaning of that so-called failure. The second I is incubation. So we all know that chickens lay eggs and the hens have to sit on the egg, and in that period there's an incubation that goes on. So incubation is really when the chick inside the egg begins to grow to its full term before hatching. And that's the same with ideas and experiences. Incubation allows experiences and thoughts to grow to their full potential. So rather than being premature in hatching, if a chicken hatches prematurely from the egg, then chances that it won't survive. But if it reaches its full term, and that's the same with an experience, allow it to incubate, and that incubation comes from pausing. The third I is illumination. Illumination simply is to light up, is to put light upon something. So the process of placing value on your experiences and performances, that's what illuminating. So what you do is you actually placing a value on your experiences and on your performance. So your experiences and your performances, according to Jim Rohn, they either applaud you, they say to you, well done, or they prod you to say, this is what we can do different next time to get different results. So illumination, pausing allows this to be revealed to you. And the fourth I is illustration. This is the process of expanding your experiences into teachable lessons. You don't know something, somebody once said, until you can teach it. Until you can teach something, you don't really know it, or you haven't actually learnt it. Sorry, my notes are flying around. Daniel, please can you pass me my notes? Thank you. Or my little piece of paper that I'm making notes on. Sorry. So we're talking about illustration, the process of expanding your experiences into teachable lessons. What can you teach? What can you share with others from your experiences? How can you add value to somebody from your experiences? So when you've paused, when you've taken that time to pause, you are able to talk to somebody and say, you know what, this is what I learned from this experience, because you've invested the time to pause and to let that work in you. So, good questions are the heart of reflection. In other words, when you start reflecting on this, it's imperative that as a leader, as somebody who wants to grow, as somebody who's got a vested interest in your personal growth, that you begin to ask yourself in your reflection questions, and not just any old questions. We talk about good questions. Again, John Maxwell wrote a book that said good leaders ask great questions. So the quality of our answers is determined by the quality of the questions that we ask ourselves. So, asking the why questions brings insight to experiences. So, practice asking yourself questions. Practice asking good questions that will practice getting better at asking questions. Ask the deep questions, ask the searching questions. Don't just ask one question. When you ask one question, go down another level, go down another layer, go down another layer. It's often said that sometimes you got to go 5 layers deep before you actually get down to the real answer to the original question that was asked. So when you do your reflection, begin to ask these questions of yourself. Begin to ask these deep and meaningful questions to yourself. Ask yourself the why questions. Why did that happen? What would have happened if it had been different? Or what would I have done differently? What can I do differently next time? What do I learn from this? What's this telling me about myself? Because remember, this is not about interrogating other people's behavior. It's not about interrogating how the environment around you is. It's about interrogating you, because ultimately you are responsible for your personal growth. What am I doing? What are my decisions? What are my choices? What are my questions? It's about you, because the ultimate responsibility lies with you. I said we're going to talk about learning it and living it and leading it. So now we're going to move on to the live it part. And this is asking the right questions to get the right answers. A continuation really of what I've just been saying earlier on. So the most important type of questions to ask are the personal awareness questions. Growth is a personal journey. Nobody takes this journey with you. You take it on your own. Yes, there are people that come alongside you and there are people that support you, but ultimately, growth is about the decisions that you make and the actions that you make, the actions that you take. Excuse me, this is just water, by the way, in case you're wondering. It's just water. So to get a better understanding of your, better sense of your own awareness, of your own self-awareness, to get a better sense of who you are, these are some of the questions that you can ask. A, what is my biggest asset? What I'll probably do is, at the end of this, I will post these questions up so that you can read them on the platform, so that they're easily available, so you don't have to memorize everything that I'm saying to you. I know that some of you are incredibly sharp and you will be able to memorize everything, but if you're like me, I get to write things down so that I can free up my mind for other stuff. So the first question A, is what is my biggest asset? So usually this is a mental trait, okay, because we're talking about personal growth. What is your biggest asset? Think about that, write that down. Question B, What is my biggest liability? Usually our liabilities are an attitude or a habit. We all have them. We all have these liabilities. See, when it comes down to growth, when it comes down to personal development, it's the secret to our success lies in our daily habits. If we are not achieving the kind of results that we want to achieve, the easiest thing to do is look at your daily habits. So often we look for the big things and we blame the big things, but I can honestly say that what you do on a daily basis, the little things, those are the ones that have the biggest impact on our success or our failure. So what is my biggest liability? It's either an attitude or a habit. Be honest with yourself. Write that down. C, what is my highest high? And this is normally an emotional response to life. So when I'm at my best, when I'm at my highest emotionally, what is it? And what causes me, or what brings me into that state of an emotional high? What is it? What lights your fire? D, what is my lowest low? Again, this is an emotional response. What takes me down into those depths? What brings me down in terms of my emotions? What deflates me? What brings me into a position of lacking self-worth or self-esteem or disappointment? What is it? What is that thing? What is that trigger thing? E, what is my most worthwhile emotion? So what emotion drives you to the most success? So everybody has a different point on this, and I'll tell you mine, and this is something that I only discovered in the last 2 or 3 years, and the only time I discovered this, and I didn't know this for years and years and years. I didn't know that. So through the John Maxwell team, I had the opportunity to become certified in a DISC, something called DISC Personality Insights, and this is kind of it's like a Myers-Briggs type thing, but it basically looks at people's different personality types. What makes you you in terms of your personality, and everybody has a different personality type. So just to simplify things, DISC has 4 quadrants, and it breaks people into outgoing people and reserved people, and then it breaks those two further groups into into kind of intuitive people and analytical people. So my personality type is an I, so that means I'm outgoing, but I'm also very intuitive in the way that I work. So I'm really on the scale what they call a high I. So my reward, or the fuel that drives me, is not money. And when I discovered this and I reflected my years in business and my achievements and what I've done in my years, my professional career, I recognized for the very first time in my life that my fuel is not money. My biggest high, my highest high, my most worthwhile emotion is recognition. Is when I come off the stage after I've been speaking, the look in somebody's eye when I recognized that I was able to connect with them, that I was able to touch them at the point that they were at, and they positively affirm that, either through words, through action, or through deed, that is my highest reward. Don't give me the fat check to say, well done for your speech. Just say, thank you, you blessed me, you touched me. That is my highest. And I didn't know that, and it took a while for me to understand that. But knowing that now, it's absolutely freed me up, because I wondered about myself. I wondered about my motivation for doing things. So, what is my most worthwhile emotion? The next one, F. What is my least worthwhile emotion? What emotion limits you the most? What's that emotion that limits you the most? So we all have different places. We all come from different places. We all have different points. We all have different things that different emotions, and so this is a personal thing. You got to reflect on this. What is your least worthwhile emotion? So what emotion limits you the most? G. What is my best habit? What is your best habits? And I touched on this earlier, and John Maxwell says the secret to a person's success is found in their daily agenda. So what habits do you have that are getting you closer to being the person that you want to be, or getting you closer to your goal? What is that habit, or what are those habits? What are the things that you do daily on a consistent basis that are leading you closer to your goal? H. What is your worst habit? What chronic behavior or feeling most limits you? See, we're talking about personal growth. We're talking about growing. We're talking about how you're taking yourself up intentionally to the level of growth. So this requires an element of brutal honesty. What are those habits that are holding you back? What are the things that you do consistently that are causing you, or that are causing you to self-sabotage, that are causing you from achieving the kind of results that you know you're capable of? And we're not just talking about financial results. We're not just talking about professional results. We're talking about results as a person, as an individual, as a husband, a mother, a father, a daughter, a child, whatever it is. What are those habits or chronic behaviors that we do consistently? And they don't have to be big, horrible things that you are ashamed of or that will get you locked up. But it's things that we do, things like procrastination. Small things consistently add up to big things. What is most fulfilling to me? What really strokes your fire? What makes you say that I was made for this? What is it? You see, statistics say that I can't remember that it's 87 or 97% of people, I think it's probably 87% of people, professional people, are stuck in jobs that they do not like, that they do not enjoy. So that's a large chunk of the world's population doing things that don't light their fire. So what's fulfilling to you? What really stokes your fire? What makes you wake up in the morning and say, I was born to do this, I was created to do this? Somebody else said the two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. Have you found out what your why is? Have you found out what your reason for being is? See, I've been working for over 20 years. I have an over 20-year corporate career. And I started off my career in a bank, and I started off doing finance, and eventually I got qualified as an accountant, as a certified accountant, chartered certified accountant, and I went on to study and do an MBA and all that stuff. And every time I took those steps, I just thought that this next step is going to help me to find my purpose. That I didn't quite get understand what I understand now about personal growth. I didn't quite know what I know now about who I am and what it is that drives me and that lights me up. But what I did know was that for a while I was satisfied, and then after a while I wasn't. See, because every time as I progressed in my career, I made more money, and I began to travel the world with my jobs. I got senior positions. Had the opportunity to work in different countries and different continents and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't. And every time I got to the point, I realized that I wasn't fulfilled. It wasn't until I joined the John Maxwell team and that I began to mix with people with a totally different mindset than one I was previously accustomed to. It wasn't until I started working one-to-one with people that I realized that actually my calling, my purpose, my reason for being is deep down, deep down. As good as I was at finance and processes and procedures, that wasn't me. My purpose, my passion is people. I wake up in the morning every day, and if I'm going to be speaking to somebody, I think I'm going to make somebody's life better today because of what I do. I'm going to help somebody get one step closer to their purpose, to their goal, because I know what it is like to wake up every morning for 20 years going to a job, and it wasn't always the same job. I changed multiple companies, and still that I changed multiple companies, I changed multiple industries, I changed countries, I changed continents, but still there was something missing, there was something empty. So what is fulfilling to you? What stokes your fire? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Jay, what is my most prized possession? What is my most prized? What is the thing that I value the most? Now, for some people, it's a thing. It could be your sports car that's parked in your driveway. It could be your your luxury boat as the ones behind me. Or it could just be an achievement. What are you most proud of? What are you most proud of? It could be a personal trait. I'm proud of the fact that I've discovered that I am a people person, that I am a connector, that I have the ability to make somebody's life better through the words that come out from my mouth, through my presence, through listening to somebody tell me their problems. So that's, for me, is my most prized possession. K, to experience growth in a specific area of your life, you've got to ask specific questions to that area of your life. So to experience growth in a particular area of your life, you've got to ask specific questions to that same area in your life. So you've got to develop your own questions in these areas. What area do I want to grow in? What area in my life right now is lacking in terms of personal growth? And begin to ask yourself questions. Develop questions that you can ask yourself. So remember that this is a journey, okay? Like all journeys, it starts. And personal growth is not about reaching a destination. It's about going on this journey and every day seeking to be better than you were yesterday. Like any journey, it requires commitments to stay focused to the cause. Yes, sometimes there will be detours, and yes, sometimes there will be obstacles, and yes, sometimes there will be roadblocks. But if you set out to go on a journey, you're not going to abandon the journey just because the road ahead is closed. What you're going to do is you're going to find the detour, you're going to follow the detour, and because you know where you're going, you're going to come back on track. So, friends, remember that to know yourself is the key to reaching your own potential. And you've come this far. You've signed up for this. Not everybody will be trained. Of the thousands of people we trained in Uganda signed up for this. I know a vast majority of people did, but you did, and the reason that you did is because you have a passion for your personal growth, that you're committed, you've come this far. So friends, now is not the time to slow down. Don't look at this list of questions and think, oh gosh, these are too many questions. I know that Fiona and Julius last week asked you to write down a list of 30 things. Everything that we ask you to do is for a purpose. It's to help you to get along on this journey. So I want to thank you for your time, and I've run a little over. I should have been recording for 34 minutes, but hey, in my defense, 4 minutes I shouldn't be recording for 30 minutes. I think I'm now more at 34 minutes. In my defense, the first 4 or so minutes I was recapping, so I think I'm still within the time frame. I just want to say I'm honored. We are honored as trainers that you've invested this time to join us on this journey. We want to serve you to the best of our ability, but we ask you to play your part, to play full out. You'll get as much out of this as you put in, and we are available for you. We are available to help you, to guide you, and that's what we are. We just guides. You're the hero in your story. We are just guides, and we want to help you realize your full potential. So I look forward to joining you on the live call on Thursday. I'll be back in the UK, then I'll be back in London, and I'll be hosting the call with my really good friend and really accomplished coach and trainer B. B is from Uganda, and she'll be on the call with me, helping you answer your questions. And feel free to make a comment in the comments below. Ask the questions that you want to ask, but come prepared on Thursday to play full out. We're going to learn and we're going to grow together. As I said, we're not speaking as people who've attained. We are speaking as people who are fellow journeyers, fellow travelers with you on this journey. So thank you for your time, thank you for your effort, and thank you for your commitment to your personal growth. God bless you. Bye.